Today was Veterans Day, folks, and I had the chance to experience something that I have never in my life experienced, and it was something simple and, well, plain. Today, my grandchildren and their school had a special, parade. They invited members who were veterans of the United States military to drive through their campus of their school, and the kids would be standing aside the road and waving and showing up signs and doing whatever else that kids do from the ages of first grade through like sixth grade. So my son-in-law and my daughter and my wife and all jumped in their vehicle and headed off to their school. It was a long line of parade people coming in there, folks of all different genre, if you will. And my son-in-law says, "Hey, why don't we open up the sunroof and you can stand up in the center of the sunroof rather than waving out the side of the car to see all the kids on both sides of the road," which I ultimately agreed to. And I can tell you it was 32 degrees and it was cold. But I went up above the sunroof and sat there as we traveled around through the school area, through their parking lot and their driveway. And there were all these kids on both sides of the roads. And they were yelling and screaming and hollering USA, USA, had their flags and waving. And just being in that car, standing in that sunroof, waving to these kids was an experience like I have never felt before. Because I'm going to tell you something. I joined the military in 1970, and back then, people weren't waving and smiling and waving flags and yelling USA. Back then, people were actually spitting on soldiers because we were considered the worst of the worst. The Vietnam War was going on. And the attitude toward people who were military people was, well, we were a disgrace in a lot of ways. And that's what we felt back then. So in today's world, when people come up to you and say, "Hey, thank you for your service," you're not really sure what to say, because every time the flood of 1970 comes back into your brain, and you're going, how is it that today they're thanking you and back then they spit on you? Well, today the rules have changed, the world has changed, and now society has changed. And all I can say is to sit in that car and to stand in that car against those small kids. I told my wife, I said, I hope someday one of those kids who was at the parade will say to themselves, "I want to be a pilot. I want to grow up and be a pilot." If that happens with one of those kids, boy or girl, doesn't matter. But if it happens with one of those kids and they say, "I want to grow up and be a pilot in the United States military," then maybe I've done my job. Because it was humbling, folks. That's the only thing I can tell you. I don't think I've ever felt that way, and the emotions are very difficult to describe. But something I've done, and now I can say, hey, I'm proud. And I had two granddaughters who were standing among those kids. I don't know how they felt. I don't know what they said to their classmates, if anything. But all I know is that was an honor, folks. An honor I will never forget. And the stage of my life, getting some honors, well, pretty cool. But something you take with you. Will it carry on to the afterlife? I don't know. But it's something I was able to say, you know what? Maybe all that stuff that happened a long time ago is forgotten. And maybe today you can help guide someone in the right direction to serve their country, because so few people do it. So few do it. And yet those who do put a name on a check, and that check is open, and it can be filled in with their life. It's just something you understand about those who are willing to serve. I'm old. I'd do it again, but unfortunately, Mother Nature won't let me do that anymore. But for those who do, and those who carry it on, you have my uttermost thanks, because America depends upon those who serve it, protect it, and defend it. And I was able to celebrate that today with a bunch of kids who knew nothing more than to stand there and yell USA, wave their flags, and think, boy, I'm seeing somebody cool. When the truth is, I'm not. I'm just an average person who served.